All right, guys, we are joined now on a very special episode of the Bridal Banter Pod by Mr. Harrison Summerhour and Mr. Joe Nash, two of the people that are involved here at the Towerhouse venue, and we are actually on location today. So this is our first interview on site, on location. This is a really cool venue that we've been lucky enough to be a part of. We've kind of kept it secret for a while, but this past week we announced our partnership with Towerhouse and Senoia Bridal, but we'll get to all of that later. And I think first we'll just let Harrison and Joe kind of introduce themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm Harrison Summerhour, and we've had Towerhouse Farm for about 23 years. It started off as just a 40-acre parcel. We didn't know we were coming down here, but we had happened to have a good relationship with a friend in the area, and he had a lumber business, and he kept inviting us down, and eventually we got 40 acres and we started growing. So in 2005 the tower went under construction, and we pulled all the stones together off the farm. And this was an old agricultural property, so all the stones were thrown on the tree lines. And we came in, we collected all of them. It took a long time, but in 2008, we finished the construction of the tower, and that also came with the barn that we're in right now, which we now call the tobacco barn, but it's known as the groom's den.
Yes, the gentleman's lounge.
The gentleman's lounge.
Yes, the gentleman's lounge.
We finished this about 3 months ago. It actually started out as the tool shed, like I said, to build the tower, and then it jumped into the brewery. So Towerhouse Farm Brewery, that's now in Gay, Georgia, actually started in here during COVID just as a hobby brew thing we did every day, just mixing up random beers, and eventually we moved into town. But 2 months ago, we finished this space out with all these Kentucky board plank, and so there, you can see some of the cribbage on a couple of the boards. But we turned upstairs into a little one-bedroom and kind of grew from there, but I'll try to get back on track. So the tower was finished in 2007. We then built the guest house because the family was growing. All the cousins were coming down. And in 2018, we had enough equipment that we could justify building a barn. So the event barn was finished, and at the time we didn't realize, I guess it came down to cost to finish out the barn, and it was cheaper to stucco the interior than it was to do anything else. So we finished it out. We realized this barn is way too nice in order to park our equipment in, and the equipment ultimately did not get parked in there. And that's where we kind of started coming up with the ideas of, we can do this as a business retreat or a wedding venue, and wedding venue was kind of off on the horizon. We were more thinking of business retreats. We've had Ball and Buck come down here before, a big outfitter, and just various other things, and yoga retreats as well with Stephanie's friends. But it really didn't come into play until Joe joined the team about 3 years ago or 4 years ago, where he opened our eyes where, hey, we've got a really beautiful wedding venue. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we were kind of dabbling with the fair. We were managing that. So a lot of our time went over there, and we realized we really need some help on the wedding venue side. We don't have enough time to come in here and do everything. We know how to build stuff, but we don't necessarily know how to get weddings through the door. And Joe, thankfully, has a bunch of experience in that. And so we ran the fair, forgot about the Towerhouse Farm or the Towerhouse weddings, and eventually we woke up and we're like, we have to do this. And so that's where Joe comes in, and he can talk about everything that he's been doing.
Well, first of all, there's been many times that I've seen the equipment parked in the barn. So
Yeah.
let's just
Lies.
be clear about that.
Lies.
So that's definitely happened. But I'm Joe Nash. I grew up in Gay and lived here most all my life. Moved away to go to college, and wound up in Atlanta in food and beverage, and spent 20 years, doing a ton of different restaurants, 2 Urban Licks, Parish, State and Lake in Chicago, and a project in San Diego. And we went all over the country and wound up doing a lot of hotel projects. And those hotel projects led to, weddings and event space rentals. And so we did a hotel in Chicago. We did 2 in Atlanta, and then several other smaller hotels. And just wound up doing a lot of, event management through Concentric Restaurant Group. And got a chance after COVID, everything was a little bit crazy in the food and beverage world. And I knew Keith and Stephanie and all the summer hours, and they offered me a job. And it's a pretty amazing opportunity to get to come to your hometown and do something that you've done all your life. Like, it's just a really rare opportunity. And then met y'all, and we had like a conversation in the tap room in town. And I knew that y'all were, trying to get a venue lined up, and it just seems like all this came together, and we were all meant to be here right now,
100%.
Absolutely.
Joe, can I hop back on
Yeah.
what you talked about earlier? So the one thing that I think is great about Gay, Georgia and Meriwether County is that compared to Atlanta, you could be doing a wedding venue, but you're not making a difference. Or you're not, if you're putting these festivals on like Longleaf Country Music Fest and the fair and opening up Towerhouse Farm Brewery in Gay, Georgia, there's 30 to 40, if not more, breweries in Atlanta. There's tons of wedding venues. There's tons of events going on. But down here, like the Cotton Fair or the brewery, all these events make a huge difference to the community. So they're actually noticed, and civic organizations all participate in them. So you're really, you're really making a difference, basically.
Right.
Like,
And that's something we hope that we can help with
Yeah.
building out Towerhouse as a venue, is bringing more eyeballs down to this community, hopefully build some growth naturally and kind of grow it out the right way. But like you said, just help build up the economy any way that we can help through Towerhouse. But watching what you guys have kind of done, even from afar, and hearing the stories of what you guys have done and come in here, it's really cool that you guys are making an impact on the community. And for someone like Joe, born and raised here, I'm sure that's, super important to you.
It is. I mean, it's, I've gone to the fairs ever since I was 1 or 2 years old. And it's really, just a unique experience to be able to have been at the fair and now be a part of the fair. And, be a big part of the fair and get to help make these decisions that impact the community and impact everything that happens around here.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that too is what drew us to you guys. Is like that's the biggest thing for our bridal shop, is we want to take all of the community of Senoia and really bring it together and create an experience not only at our bridal shop but in the downtown, in the community, and include all of the different shops and restaurants, and bring business not only to us but to them. And you guys are doing the same thing here, so I think that's really special, and I think that's why we were drawn to the idea of coming together and helping build this out too.
Yeah. I'd say the first time we even saw the fairgrounds, we just were blown away by
Yeah,
it
it's
and the
beautiful.
community around it. And we were like, if we can be involved with this, that would be awesome. And then, like Joe said, everything kind of aligned, and we ended up meeting through some mutual friends and things like that. And, here we are months later and have a partnership built out. And I think there's a lot of big things coming in the future here. But I guess I'd like to start. How did so Harrison's father is an architect, right? And he is the
Yes.
one that drew up the designs for the tower. So where did he really get the inspiration, and why did he want to bring that here to Gay, Georgia?
So I think basically my dad, he went to architecture school in Auburn. He graduated, I believe he studied abroad in Italy. From there, he brought all of experience back over with stonework and masonry, which is like one of our largest things within the Towerhouse property. But we were over there for about a year and a half, and he was actually going to school for the Florence Academy of Arts. And so he explored all over Florence. We stayed over there for a little bit of time. And there's these old shot towers in Italy and all over Europe where they would pour molten lead off of about a 75-foot tall building, and it'd cool just enough and form a sphere before it hit a bucket of water, a pool of water, where they'd make the musket balls. So he brought that inspiration to Gay, Georgia. I'm not sure how he convinced the county. There must have been not any regulations at the time, but convinced the county that you could build over 75 feet tall. And so now there's a 6-story tall tower in the middle of Meriwether County. And it's really interesting, but yeah, all of his inspiration's been from Italy, and of course, like as you walk around the property, you can tell
You
there's a
can
very Tuscan feel.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's all the stone from the property that,
It's really
it's
cool.
from Georgia, but it really looks like you're in the countryside of Italy.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, as soon as you come through those stone gates, we always say it's like you're transported from the middle of the country to like almost a Tuscany feel to it, especially with the landscaping and the way the stone looks in the tower. It's like mind blowing whenever you come through those gates.
Oh yeah. As soon as
super
you come
unique.
around the corner and see
Yeah, it's that wow
this
moment.
giant tower.
And so you guys kind of started this as a place for your family to gather, kind of like a family estate to come out here, hunting trips, I would assume, and stuff like that. And so did you guys have a wedding here that kind of kicked off the idea of, oh, this is a golden opportunity for us? Like, was there a family member that came out here and did a wedding? Or was it just one of those things where you're looking at the property and the buildings and it's like, this is kind of the natural progression where we're headed?
So my dad and his wife, Stephanie, got married here about 3 years ago. I believe I'm right on that one. They got married out here about 3 years ago, and there was so many opportunities for places to get married that it actually moved, I think, 4 or 5 times?
At least.
At least.
Some of
So-
them up to the day of.
Yeah, the day of. And so it between that wedding and then all the other small business retreats that we had, we're like, you know what? We have such an awesome space here that we have to open it up to not necessarily the public, but people that want to come in here, have a beautiful wedding. We've got a gorgeous pergola up on the top of the hill. I mean, there's just all these moments all over this property. As you drive around, you actually get to see, or it's much easier to visualize how your wedding could look like on the property itself. I mean, you guys have done tours on property, and we have too, and people are blown away. You can't show them the whole property in one day or
No.
one tour.
No, no chance.
And coming from me, like I've done a few tours in the past, and I drive them on the biggest loop you could possibly imagine, because I'm like, oh, this is a good spot. This is a good spot up on the hill with the sunset or the pergola. And I think I start overwhelming people
Yeah.
with too many spots that they don't know what to do.
Right.
So that's what's great with y'all coming in. Is like I kind of like, I've been here so much. I see a new spot every day. I'm like, let's show the next person that one.
Right.
But it might not make any sense to them.
Right.
There's not a bad spot on the property.
No.
Like all of the views are beautiful. And then if you want a structure to be in the spot of the ceremony, there's also tons of structures and options for that too.
Yeah, the photography set up here and the different backgrounds and all over the farm. I mean, you can't take a bad picture. I don't think there's any direction you can go and really take a bad picture around here.
Unless it's at yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
do that. Trust me, I could make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, Joe, whenever you came out here with your experience and like events and things like that, was it pretty obvious to you that's where this needed to go, was towards a wedding? Then you saw the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just a gorgeous property, like we've talked about. We first came here, and even everyone is in awe when you come here, and it takes a little bit to get used to that. And you have to walk the property and see everything, and then you start to feel comfortable, talking to other people about it. And part of the uniqueness of the property too is that we never stop. Like, we just built a bridge that is the newest structure on the property. Keith is, he's just super energetic about everything here, and he wants everything to be perfect. And we never stop. Like, there's always a project going, and constantly adding. He travels a lot. He sees different things, and he wants to bring a lot of what he sees back here. And so I knew, like, this is going to be a great property. There's a lot of little refinements that we need to do, but this is not something that you're going to find really anywhere else. I mean, it's just that rare.
Yeah, I agree. Angie and myself have, we've done a ton of weddings all over the state with
over,
our photo
yeah.
booth business. And the second we came out here, we were like, there's really nothing like this in the state of Georgia that we've seen personally, that we've seen advertised through social media or anything like that. So this property is super, super unique. Harrison, if I'm not mistaken, you guys had your family had a venue in Atlanta before. Is that right?
Yeah, so Summer Hour Studios was, I guess I've got to rewind basically a little bit, but we had the whole building and we downsized as a firm, moved in the front side, and we ended up leasing out the back end to Nevere Events. And at the time, I think that space before Nevere Events got in there was about an 8-month period where it was just a big warehouse space. And I would go over there with my scooter when I was like 6 years old and scoot around all over those wooden floorboards and had a great time. And so Nevere Events came in and they, one event at a time, added inventory. At that point, it is Summer Hour Studios still, but we were not running the property.
Gotcha.
We were leasing it.
Gotcha.
And but we got to see a lot of the back end work. So the whole building and property was open to access for us, even if there was an event going on. Obviously, we'd stay out of the way, but you could go in the back door, see the whole inner workings of everything, the catering kitchen, and you could really see it all come together. And eventually, it came to a point where we just moved out entirely because there were so many weddings going on every weekend that we're like, oh my gosh, like I think we're getting in our own way right now by occupying a portion of this property. And so we moved on. But originally that was an old, I believe, newspaper press mill or a paper press. And we had built that front section on the building in the courtyard, put string lights in and planted all of the, Joe, what is that?
Italian cypress.
Yeah, the Italian cypress, and then what's that plant that's covering the hill?
Isn't that some sort of an ivy?
Maybe, yeah, but there's ivy growing and vines all over the property, and so we just took a bunch of inspiration as well from Italy for that property, just adding that front space on it as the welcome center basically for clients, and then it just turned out to be this amazing wedding venue. Right. And I think we just like fell into it at the time because we didn't know what to do with it until Nevere came in and was like, hey, this is going to be a perfect spot. And I don't think there's an open date there for
for like 3 years.
Yeah. 3 years.
Yeah, it's like 3 years out. Yeah.
Wow. Good for them over there.
Yeah.
That's going to be us here soon.
Yeah.
As soon as we
absolutely.
get some eyeballs over here, we're going to have the same problem over here.
Yeah.
So your wedding is also going to be here very soon. Is that right? Coming up here in about...
I think 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days.
So you guys are
Oh,
at crunch
just the
time right
19th.
now.
Yep, we're crunch time. So the interesting thing about me putting on a wedding here, and I say me putting on a wedding, I mean the help of everyone else that's involved, is we have the venue already. We do great events already. We haven't done weddings really, at least on the management side, because we're focused on the fair and the country music festivals and everything. But we've got a great team to do it. And I think this is the first large wedding, and it's all internal, which has been really fun and probably very stressful for Joe because Joe's supposed to be enjoying himself the whole entire day. But we still have like the meal that we need to make together. And so we're basically all pitching in on this thing. Like,
Right.
Lauren's helping out my fiance. She's done pretty much 99% of the work.
Right. Of
Like,
course.
She's done everything.
Right.
I'm here to help out on very little items, maybe mow the lawn beforehand, who knows. Set up the rehearsal dinner, or at least pick out where the lights go on Monday.
Right.
But it's been really interesting because we're, at some point we're like almost numb to the events. Maybe, Joe?
I agree. Like,
It's just happening.
well, it's just happening, and part of that is that they are like two of the easiest people to work with as far as a bride and groom. They just want the wedding to happen. I don't think that they're very bothered by a lot of the details, which is very rare. And I am going to enjoy myself. I'm just going to sit back, and I think that we have all the people in place to make this happen execution-wise. We've got a lot of people coming from Atlanta. We've got one of the bartenders is from Atlas, Michelin star restaurant in Atlanta. He does a great job. the lady who's coming to manage the service is top notch. So, I mean, it's going to be easy breezy on our side.
Has it been a little different having to plan out an event for people that you're so close with and that you work so closely with?
No, because the good thing, the way that I met the Summer Hours is I would be here on the weekends a lot. I was still working in Atlanta, and they needed catering. And I think Willis Everett, who's a mutual friend, introduced me to Keith, and I started doing events here like 6 years ago, probably, maybe more. And so I've just done so many events with them that it's very easy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the thing you have to learn is that they're going to tell you there's going to be 20 people, and just go ahead and plan on 40.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you've already learned that.
May
sounds
not
like.
be me, but
We've already learned it.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like, we have the fair coming up, and now we've done it. It's almost like our 10th fair.
Yeah.
So we used to be scrambling
Yeah.
beforehand, and like me and Joe would wake up the next morning, meet in the office, and we're like, "Hey, did you get any sleep last night?" He's like, "No, I dreamed that no one showed up." And so we said, "There's like, oh, I had the same dream, or I forgot to pick up the change for the gates, whatever it is." And so now it's gotten to a point where like, okay, well, we've gotten through so many difficult events this year alone, the Country Music Festival, that we're like, okay, this should be a breeze.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just kind of lives in the back of your mind, like, okay, everything is going to go well, because it typically does, because we always have something planned in advance. But, you never know with weddings. There could be a wild card that's here and there, but it's like any other event. And,
I think we have a little bit of a saying that it's going to happen.
one way or
Yeah.
another,
One way or
Right.
another.
with or
Right.
without you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yep.
as long as you agree to that and you go along for the ride, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and just learn the whole entire time that you're there. That's every fair for the past 10 of them. As long as you're paying attention, if something is going wrong, no one else is noticing it.
Yeah.
You can just roll on, take notes, fix it later, and then hope that, you don't notice it later, because you're
Right.
the only one that does notice it anyways.
Right.
Oh yeah. Your
And
guests won't know.
No.
It's just
Yeah.
organized chaos, and your guests won't know. I do want to bring up, just for people listening, in case they don't know, because not everyone knows what the Cotton Picking Fair is. They should. But we keep talking about the fair. We keep talking about the Country Music Fest, and I just want to clarify, like, what Towerhouse is compared to that. Are they connected? Are they the same land? Let's just like clarify for
Yeah.
the people what all these things are.
So it's all intertwined in terms of the management side. The management companies, which is me and Joe and a few other team members, great team members, and you guys too. There is a venue in town called Longleaf, and that has Towerhouse Farm Brewery on it. It's got a medical IV station. They'll be opening up in like 2 weeks. And then we also host the Cotton Fair, which when I say host, I mean we run the Cotton Fair, but it's hosted on the property. And it's a 54-year-old fair. It has about 350 craft product vendors. It's got food trucks, got entertainment, the whole shebang for a fair and a festival. And so that all lives on our venue called Longleaf in Gay, Georgia, specifically, so the town itself. And the family has had a farm, which is, the family's just 4 people, and we've had a farm over here for a little bit over, I think, 23 years. Again, we started at 40 acres, now we're at about 1,500. And so this is kind of our... I'm going to explain this basically, and I don't think anyone's going to understand this, but this is our countryside, and then our town, basically, for people knowing, is Gay. So if you're in Atlanta, you say out here is the country,
Right.
but because we run all these things in town, and that's the business, that's where we operate, that when we come over to the farm side, that's our escape from, let's say, work or our city side's thing. Like, there's a brewery over there, there's a bar, you can go in, you can meet with everyone from the community, which is amazing, everyone that comes in. But when you want to escape, you come over to the farm. It's only 1 mile away, and it's Towerhouse Farm, which hosts Towerhouse weddings. We have to edit that out. I don't.
Yeah, no,
No,
you're good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Towerhouse Weddings. It's
Okay,
like,
yeah.
That's Towerhouse
Weddings, yeah.
Farms. Yeah.
I'm like trying to avoid Towerhouse Farm a little bit.
No, you're
Yeah.
fine.
But the family called it Towerhouse Farms. You
Right.
used to function as a farm because you guys grew like
Yeah,
barley and stuff.
barley,
Yeah.
hops, wheat.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 years, we've been doing that, and the barley goes into the beer in town. So, as much as I say that these two vineyards are separate, they're very connected
Right.
overall.
Right.
And as far as like weddings go, this is its own little tranquil spot in the world that's separated from gay and the rest of the community. So you're really in the center of 1,500 acres. Like you could drive, I don't know, half a mile away, and you're finally going to get to the edge of the property where that's when you're going to turn right. You're going to head to gay or leave, basically. But it's
Right.
very separated
Right.
in terms of venues.
Yeah.
Right.
So essentially, you have what used to be the family property that is a separate property from the Cotton Fair
Yep.
and the brewery and all of that is now Towerhouse, the
Yes.
wedding venue.
Yes.
And the family has decided that they're ready to let go of the family tranquil side of it because now it's going to be a business.
Yep.
So you were just describing us like it's tranquil. We get to get away. Now it's a
Yeah.
business. Welcome,
Right?
welcome to the tranquil business
We
that
get
you
to come
created
here to relax.
to relax
now, yeah.
and throw weddings for
Absolutely.
everyone. So what kind of made you guys decide ultimately? I know Joe had a big part in it. We kind of talked about that. But like we're ready. This year's the year. We're gonna do weddings.
I think it was, I mean, again, we've had meetings about this for 2 years in a row, and it just didn't have enough focus that it needed. And I would say once we got through the Country Music Festival, we were like, you know what? We can,
It's time.
we were like, had really big egos and everything. We were like, all right, we can do this. But it really took a lot of time to find you guys.
Yeah.
And I think we had met maybe a year ago, but it was more just like shop talk, brewery stuff.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we were having beers.
Yeah.
And then Joe, I guess, ran into y'all again, and that's kind of how we ended up where we are. But in terms of the family, everyone loves events, loves everything that we're doing down here. It's really exciting. We love to see people enjoy the farm. So when kind of we all got together, we were like, you know what, we could let go of the farm for a weekend or 2 or 3. And we can still come down here, but we can be on a separate part, enjoy ourselves, relax, and kind of know that other people are getting to experience it because, again, we've been here for 23 years and we love it, but there's not a lot of other people that have been around here or at least visited the property that can enjoy it as well, which, this whole property is meant for people to enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask you, Joe. So we mentioned Longleaf's property over there that's kind of intertwined with this, that's connected with the family and this property. And that is a really unique area as well, especially for weddings. I'd love to highlight that and have you kind of talk about some of the spaces that are on that property that are available for weddings, because it's a very different feel than here at Towerhouse, where it's kind of that European vibe, Tuscany, Italy vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas they also have something that's kind of completely different, but still like a really unique, beautiful area.
Yeah, so in town, that whole property is more, you've got a railroad track that runs across the back, and it was the hub of an agricultural industry, really. I mean, that was where the people brought cotton into town, and they had the cotton ginned, and they grew peaches, and they had all kind of, just all the stuff in place to manage all of those agricultural things that they had going on. Basically, you still have all those buildings, and they're certainly not as refined as what you have here at Towerhouse, but they are amazing structures. You've got a warehouse that can easily seat over 300 people. We have the hammer mill, and it's called the hammer mill because that's how they made. They took corn and made that into cow feed, and it was a hammer mill. It literally hammered the corn into little pieces. And so you have that as a potential site. You have the farmhouse there in town, which was the old gay family house. It's a Victorian house. So we've got a little bridal suite inside. We have the 1911 building, and on the third floor we have an archive space that can act as a, kind of a groom's den, similar to what we have here. So we have all the components there. I think the reason that we really decided to focus more on the farm is we have so much programming in town that the dates are a little bit harder to work around.
Right.
And out here, it's really wide open. But we just did a tour today in town, and we still get we get good business there, but it's just very difficult to find the right fit sometimes for that property. But it has its own unique beauty. It's very authentic. If you're looking for, that little bit more rustic wedding, that's definitely the place.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first time we went out there, and that's where the brewery is now located. The Towerhouse Farm Brewery is on that campus as well. And like Joe was saying, they have this building, the 1911 building, and the second story used to be like the town hall or something like that. I know that has like the bank inside and the original post
Bank
office.
and post office, general store. So
Right.
It was the center of the town up into the 1950s.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we walked in there the first time, we actually assumed that it was like a movie set had been built in there and that
Yeah,
someone had
so
filmed
cool.
in there because
Yeah.
it looked so authentic. And they're like, oh no, that's because those were the bank teller slots.
Yeah.
That the vault that's back there, that was the bank vault. The barber chairs are still up there. So that's a really cool property too.
But even so, The Walking Dead filmed there.
Right.
The Emmett Till movie.
Just had Netflix barbecue
Netflix Showdown cook-off.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
barbecue cook-off. Yeah.
And all those things are why it's hard to host weddings there.
That's
Right.
Because
why it's
they
hard
are
to-
Yeah.
such a
Lawless.
unique...
Yeah. And so we're
Fair.
right.
Yeah.
The fair, the car show.
That little thing.
Yeah.
Just a few things
brewery
going
events. Right. And so.
And now music festivals.
And music festivals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's overwhelming to talk about, but I think that's why we go back and we're like, okay, it was time to start Towerhouse Weddings because we've gotten through a huge chunk of events on the property in town that we're like, we got to share the love over at the farm and get people to enjoy it out here as well. But very, very intimate. So
Right.
the farm is more of an intimate experience versus town is you go in there, you play disc golf, you do whatever drink beer, hang out, have a good time, enjoy the chef that's there. So
Right.
I think that the focus in the beginning really was to do weddings in town.
Yeah.
And that was always the plan. And I think that there was a grand plan, to maybe one day do weddings out here, but it just got turned upside down, and we realized that this is really the place to focus on weddings. And
Yeah.
we can always do weddings in town, but this is where it's really going to happen.
Yeah,
Right.
especially after we finished this building,
Yeah.
because this was the one building that's in between the tower, the guest house, and the event barn. So the tobacco barn was just an empty building, no insulation, no room or anything like that. And so once this was finished, and you guys can't see it, maybe you can, there's like a little bar back there, but we kind of kept that in mind. We've got a fire pit right outside as well, so that this is almost like the central check-in or hub of the property. Guests can hang out, and then once, let's say, the space is ready down in the reception hall, you can go walk down there, or people can hang out in the guest house. Like it almost connects the whole property with this building being
Right.
activated.
Right. Yeah, it does kind of flow really nicely in here. And even if you weren't using this as, let's say, a groom suite, you could kind of
You open the doors, walk straight through.
exactly
Yeah.
make this like the little cocktail area, have a bartender here or something like that. So yeah, you guys have done a really, really great job. It's hard to really even to get the grasp in pictures until you get out here
Yeah.
and really see the scale of everything and how much is included in this property and how many different, like I said, little nooks and crannies that if you're a photographer, if you're bringing a photographer with you, the possibilities are endless out here. You can literally go into any corner of a building and find an incredible angle with like a unique backdrop on it. The room we're in right now, like you said, what kind of wood is this around the outside of this or the inside?
It is board plank from a fence in a farm in Kentucky.
Yep.
And all it was is planed at a cool little shop in Louisville. One of our buddies, George Gatewood.
George.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Stories he can tell.
Stories he can tell. Yeah,
So we need to put him
he's
on the
great.
guest list.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, he'll play the harmonica for you.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
great.
Yes.
So like you can look around this room and you could only imagine the horses that have probably chewed on some of these, like the cribbing that's been going on. But you can find little cribbing spots all over, and you can tell a really good story. You could say that what's the Dornoch or whoever, a famous horse,
Secretariat.
the Secretariat was
Yeah.
chewing on some of these board planks in
Right.
here.
It's
You
possible.
never know.
Yeah, I mean, say it with a straight face.
Right.
Somebody's
Say it with confidence. They're
That's
gonna
right.
believe you.
They say, "Is that plank right over there in the corner?"
Yeah, he signed it. So
Yeah.
that's his hoof print right
Yep,
there on the
right
side.
there.
You can see it right there.
Yep.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming out and doing this for us. I guess the question I would have wrapping up is, and we'll go to both of you, do you guys have any specific like dreams or visions that you see happening out here on this property in the future? I know you guys have been super focused on getting everything ready for your wedding in 30 days. I know at that point we'll kind of be ready to go as far as the venue's said, but do you guys see anything else beyond that, like the bridge and things like that you guys have done, or any dreams or things that you'd like to see happen here in the future?
Yeah. So I think what I think is on the horizon is, and we've talked about this for a year or two, maybe more, about a dream basically of a small boutique hotel out here. And so that's kind of like one of the core businesses that we're affiliated with, is just boutique hotels in the architectural side of the world, and building 10 small cottages that are all rental, having a very quiet place for people to come out to and relax. I think that's probably a 10-year plan.
Right.
That would be doing that, but mainly we want to have very unique experiences out here. So whether that's a very intimate business retreat or a wedding, I mean, every wedding is going to be different here, which is the most fantastic part. So
Right.
the unique experience of every wedding that can be here is everything can be completely different from the previous one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's blank canvas.
It's a blank
Absolutely.
canvas that somebody can come in and you could go get married at the bridge. You could just pick a hillside that we have and do a whole ceremony there, do a hayride back from it, get everyone back to the event barn for hors d'oeuvres and the bar service and everything. But, it's kind of like, it's limitless, in fact, what you can do here in
Completely
terms
agree.
of events. Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Joe?
Well, in coming up in November, we have Chef Terry Koval, who is James Beard Southeast 2024, and he's going to do a long table dinner here, and that's one of the special events that we're focusing on, with this property and at Longleaf in town. And I just look forward to those kind of signature events that we can do. Terry's a great guy. It's going to be an amazing night. I think we have the Mondavis who are going to come in and handle wine service and showcase some of their wines. And I of course I look forward to the weddings and having the weddings here. And I think there's just going to be some really amazing signature events that are going to happen on this property. And I think having a front seat at engineering and programming some of those events is pretty special.
Very cool.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
think. Yeah. Well, sorry to interrupt. I think tying in the experiences that Joe has with Atlanta and his connections, and then the experience that we have with events, is just going to make this place really, really unique.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys have built a really great team around here. Angie and myself are super happy that you guys have brought us along to be a little small part of it. Angie, you have anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say a few things about like what we have coming up at the venue. So we do have our vendor day coming up. It is October 14th. So if you are a vendor and you would like to be on the preferred vendor list, definitely reach out to us. You can check out Instagram, Towerhouse Weddings, to see details about that, and then send us an email to RSVP. We're doing a fun little giveaway too. If you RSVP and show up, you might win. And then we will announce soon for the bride and grooms, for the couples, after our vendor day about a month later, we will be doing a essentially open house, like a little party get together where we'll bring all of our vendors back and we'll have a little party for couples to come check out the venue and see what it would be like on their wedding day or what it could be like. And I think, like you said, options are totally endless here. I don't think if you tried, you could do 2 weddings that look the same.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's physically possible. Maybe in like 10 years we might have a repeat. But there's just so many options. I think it'll be cool to just see what each vendor brings to the table and have those couples out here to experience themselves. And then currently we have first 5 couples that book the venue. We have a really special offer for you. It's a $5,000 value. So make sure you reach out about getting a tour. We already have 1 spot taken, so only 4 spots left. So yeah, I think that's about it. Make sure you follow Towerhouse Weddings.
Yeah, are
Make
there
sure
any
you-
other social, so like
Yeah.
Longleaf, Towerhouse Farms Brewery, those kind of things?
Yeah, it's Longleaf venues and the Cotton Fair, Towerhouse Farm Brewery,
We'll tag them all in the notes.
Towerhouse Farm,
Longleaf Country Music Festival?
Longleaf Country Music Fest,
Yep.
Great American Car Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be sure we put
Just
all
to
of
name
them.
a few.
It's just endless, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put all of it in the info and link it all down there. But thank you guys so much for doing this. This was really cool being able to come out here and do this on site. So I'm super excited for everyone to come out here and see this venue. So be sure you come check it out. And thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Awesome. Thanks.